Today I'm showing you how to build one of these pedals. What I'm holding here is not a wah pedal. It's an Eric Clapton Midboost Circuit that I've put into a wah enclosure. The reason for this is I did not want to have the Midboost Circuit all the time in my guitar. I wanted to have a normal Strat where I can add and remove it whenever I like. But Clapton does not have that Midboost Circuit in his guitar for no reason. He adjusts that mid-boost all the time, and in a guitar it's way more accessible and fine-tuning is way easier than on a normal pedal. So to get a little bit of this fine adjustment possibility, I've put it into a wah pedal. When I press on the heel, I'm increasing the boost. Pressing on the front, I'm reducing the boost. Pressing all the way, obviously I'm switching it on or off. Well, also with the pedal I'm having the volume that's also within that circuit. For me, actually, to be honest, I don't hear much of a difference, but the way it's mounted here, it's also way easier for me to access than on a normal pedal with the side of my foot. So over here I can just roll over it on the top with my foot and adjust the volume like this. So this gives me another possibility. I've tried it already a little bit and I found it to be quite useful actually. So if you want to build one of these pedals yourself, there's one big problem you'll have to face. And that's the 250K linear pot that's used to adjust the mid boost. So the pot that's moved by the footrest. Well, one problem is the footrest itself. The footrest, there's way less movement on the pot than you would have on the guitar. So you can't use a normal 250K pot, because if you would use that one inside, you would have probably just a movement of 125K or something like this. Actually, I've measured this and you only have really about half the movement that you would have on a normal guitar pot. The other problem is there are no pots available for wah pedals or for volume pedals that would fit the criteria here. At least I did not find them. If you do so, please let me know. Well, the wah pedal that I had a non-linear 100K pot, so that one was not usable. So my solution for this was to modify a 500K linear CTS pot. That's usually used normally in a guitar, and for that I will show you how to modify it so it works. The other thing I'm showing you in this video is the wiring, but first we'll start with the modification of that pot. Okay, after some failed soldering attempts and well, some tinkering, I've found a solution that worked for me to get the 250 kilo ohm potentiometer from the 500K that I had with the reduced range. So what I did was use a copper tape to mask about half of my range from the resistor. Well, the resistor, unfortunately, is only the top coat of this ring over here. So I was not able to get a wire underneath or get it somehow underneath it to shortcut the half of the resistance that I'm having here. So what I went with was this copper tape in the end. Unfortunately, mine did not have the conductive glue underneath it, so I had to wrap it around on the front a little bit to get the contact. But we'll see on the multimeter, we'll see that I'm having about 250 kilo ohm over here. Pretty close actually. And if I get over here, it reduces to 0. And the same can be said if I go for the other side. I'm having the 250 over here, and it slowly reduces over to 0. The closer I get to the copper. Well, there are two more things you have to know about that pot modification I did. I had to reopen the pot twice to fix some problems I made. Well, the first one was that I had a shortcut from the part where I've soldered the copper tape to the pin with the enclosure of the pot, which in the end would have shortcut everything for me to ground on that part. To solve this, I've used some insulation tape, wrapped it around that part, and everything is fine. The second thing is that that pusher, that spring that's pushing onto the resistance material and where the middle pin takes its value from, that one pushed actually against my copper tape where I folded it over to get the connection, because I do not have copper tape here that has conductive glue. That was a huge problem actually that I've noticed now. And to make that one more stable, I've used some drops of super glue to glue it on that circuit board thing that's there next to that ring. With that one it's way more secure and it holds way better. Not sure if this is a permanent solution, because yeah, we will see if that one might make trouble again. In the end, if this happens, I simply use copper tape with conductive glue. Well, from here on I'm showing you how I've approached the wiring of this pedal and how I wired everything up. So the first thing I did was take the schematics I got from Lawrence, and I've marked all the wires that are coming from the board and that I have to connect. We see here is the volume pot that I've got on the side over here. That one needs to be wired separately. We have our boost pot, that's the one we've put to the wah pedal itself, and yeah, then we have the input checks that's over here and the output check over here. And for the foot switch we make a complete bypass through around everything, so that one will go in front of the input that we're having here, the yellow, and in front or on the back side of the output, so we are completely having a true bypass around everything around the circuit. We have the plus that goes inside, that is coming usually in the mid-boost circuit from the 9-volt battery. In our case it's the input here for the DC, that DC check, that 9-volt DC check we're having here. And I've marked everything that's black where I have to connect the ground. Well, and the brown is the one as well from the circuit board, as well as from one pot to another. Well, that's pretty much it. With that, I went ahead and soldered everything. First, I thought I would show you how I'm soldering everything, but it turned out to be not that practical. Well, I can show you how I did manage the cables inside. That's what we're having here is obviously the red one going out to the plus of the input check here, of the input of the DC input. Be careful with these DC inputs. It's that the outside actually is the plus and the center is minus. We also see it on the back side over here, how the polarity of the plug is. It's the same with the standard. We see it from the wah pedal as well. So I wired it up the same. Unfortunately, it looks a little bit chaotic because I only had this purple wire. Everything that I've wired separately, for example, all the grounds or where I had to extend the wire is purple, so it's not that easy to spot in the first place what I did. You can see over here I tried to get all the cables underneath the circuit board when I was wiring over there. The idea is that the wires don't get in the way of the input and output jack in this way of the wiring. And I've tested the pedal already. This works fine for me. I have not seen it move anywhere, and they're fine out of the way for the input and output jacks. Yeah, let's move on with the wires. So red one over here, next one, the black, that's the ground. We go over here to the ground of the input jack over here. We move on from that input jack over to the volume pot over here to the ground. Then from here on I go underneath the circuit board over here to the output jack, to the ground of the output jack, and finally to the ground of the DC input. That's for the grounds. The green one goes over here directly to the upper plug over here from the volume pot. Yellow moves over here. I had to extend that cable because what makes it look a little bit unclean might be that I did not shorten the cables, so I can use that circuit also again in a strat and did not lose too much of the cables. Yeah, the yellow one I've extended over here. I'm not sure if you can see it. Over here is the extension I've made to the switch, as mentioned. Then the purple one goes over here to that spot here on the wah pot, on the boost pot. I have it wired the way that if I press down the pedal, I'm reducing the boost. If I'm pressing on the heel and lift the pedal, I'm increasing the boost. The reason for this for me was obvious because first of all, Clapton didn't ask for a 25 dB boost for no reason. So he's using also almost everything of this boost and use it extensively. So I wanted with this pedal to have as much of the boost as I can. And the last little bit where I'm about to switch off the pedal, bypassing it, well, it's not really usable because you see eventually, I'm not sure if it, you see the switch pushes it back up. This does not allow me to make it stay in that position very well. And also what I've already noticed, the switch already makes a little noise when I'm in this area over here. So you already hear a little clicking, so it might switch a bit over here already while not having really snapped. Yeah. And that's not something I want to have. Mostly I will be using it in the higher parts and reduce the volume, and when I want to switch it off I'm having it already boosted low, so that makes it for me way more practical, and yeah, I think it's more logical that way. If I want to switch it out, I'm reducing the boost. I'm not going full into the boost and have it then switch off. That does not make much sense to me. Let's continue. However, if you want to change it, you just have to switch over these two wires, or three wires in that case, because we have the brown going over here also to the boost pot, Then we have what we have also here in the schematic as brown. We have the one going from the boost pot not only into the circuit again, that's what we're having here, but also to the volume pot, that's the purple we're having over here. Underneath everything, coming back down here to the middle of that volume pot. So this leaves us with, I think, yeah, only the input wire directly that goes over here into the middle of the switch. Well, you can decide pretty much. You can decide on which side you want to do this. I did the input side on the back side here of the switches, and the output side over here on the right side from my side, the right side for you, for the left side. On the inner side of the pedal, you can switch this over. This does not really matter because here we're bridging everything. That's the big connection we're having over here. If it's switched off, if it's bypassed, and yeah, it switches either over here or over here, and the same goes for this side. These are completely separate switches that are activated by the same push. And obviously we have the middle of the boost pot going over here also into the switch, and from here on to the output. What I also did is to get the green wire certainly out of the way. The circuit board has some holes on each side to mount it, and I used one of these holes to get the wire through. So I went over here, get through here, so it's not getting in the way of this pot, not in the way of this input jack actually. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Other than that, it would be also possible to power it with a 9-volt battery. I've decided against it because I'm not using any batteries at all, and if I do for testing purpose, I'm going with an adapter through this DC input. So for me, that's not really important. Other than that, it would be just replace this part over here with a 9-volt adapter and you're good to go. You see, there is plenty of space inside. As you've seen, the wiring itself is not much of a problem. There's nothing really extraordinary inside. I have to say, this is also a quite convenient wire enclosure I've got. And yeah, for this it worked out quite well. I have no problems with the wires getting somewhere in the way. I was lucky enough that there were mounting spots for the screws for the old wah circuit that I could reuse on this one, and yeah, turned out pretty well in my opinion. Well, there are a few things that I forgot to mention during all this. To make the volume pot better movable, I used shrink tube, so I have more grip on it with my foot. So far what I've tested, it works well. It does what I want it to do. Well, obviously the CTS 500K pot does not have the same shaft as the wah pedal pot. For that reason, that gear that is on that pot is not fitting properly. I simply used force on that one. I just pushed it on one side and it worked. It's a split shaft pot and that worked really well. It's holding secure, it's moving fine, and it's from a few times removing and putting it on again, I can already see that it made the grooves where the split shaft pot has the grooves on its shaft. So it sits well, and it has almost like a gear inside that's holding it firmly in place, and it does not move anywhere. So that's quite secured. Well, the other thing is what you might want to know when you intend to make something like this is the price. What did it cost me to build this pedal? I did not use the cheapest enclosure that I could find. Well, I wanted to find a enclosure that is empty or a broken wah pedal to make this, because, well, I did not really want to destroy a wah pedal on this modification. So I've bought this enclosure as defect from Tube Amp Doctor that was cast away from the production line due to whatever reasons. I could not find them. It worked perfectly fine when I got it, and as I already have a RMC4, I don't need it. So I went on with modifying it regardless of this. But you would probably be able to get a cheaper used one, or one with some defects in it for, however, I've seen some go for 15 euros here where I'm living. So you can save a bit of bucks on that one. I will list in the description what the options is, but I'm giving you 3 numbers right off the bat. Well, the first one is, if you buy everything new, what you need is, you need the Midboost kit, you need the wah enclosure. I'm using that one for the price as well. You will need a DPDT switch, because the wah, at least the wah that I bought, or this one, did not come with a DPDT switch, so I could do the full bypass on it. And then you will need a 9-volt socket plug. You can use the one from the wah pedal, but I've decided to go without modifying the wah, so I could just rip these things out again and put the wah pedal back in the wah circuit, and it will work fine. However, it may not look this good because I had to drill a few holes over here. As you've seen, I did not show you the drilling of the holes as well, because I think all of you guys know how to drill holes. That's another thing I forgot to mention during the video, that I had to drill 2 holes, or drill 1 hole for the volume pot and enlarge the other one over here for that 9-volt DC socket that I'm using. Other than that, you need a it does not need to be a CTS, but for my calculation I used the CTS 500K pot that I had around already. You can use any other 500K pot that you want to use. For this application, I would suggest to use a larger pot, like the CTS pot, because it's easier to modify in the end. If you're going for that modification to make it a 250K pot with only half the range of everything. In the end, you will also need 2 input jacks. I used 2 input jacks that I had lying around. For my calculation of the price, of the total price, I used Switchcraft, the price of Switchcraft jacks. You can again maybe use the one if you're having a full wah pedal inside to save a little bit. Well, that gets us to the 3 numbers I've calculated. One is the cheapest possible price if you can get everything sourced, used, or have it lying around eventually. And with that, I've used either prices I've seen used or the ones I've paid. So the cheapest possible outcome for you is about 80 euros for this pedal, like it is here, without any shipping, with the shipping costs approximately 16 euros that I had ordering from several different parts if I would have used a used wah enclosure. And yeah, you will see the separate lists in the description. And the second one is what it actually cost me. That's about 100 euros without shipping. And altogether with the shipping I paid 26 euros for shipping. That's because I had to source these several parts from different sources. Or if you buy everything new, I've come up with 145 euros without shipping. Adding my shipping costs to it would lead you to about 171 euro. Well, it's not cheap by any means, and it's really a thing to consider when making such a pedal. So for anyone interested in it, I would suggest look out for used parts, and you can get off significantly cheaper. Well, so far that's about it. I would like to thank Lawrence from lpdpedals.com for helping me on this project. He assisted me with the circuit, and he also explained a few things when I had questions for what parts I should go and what difference something would make. In the beginning I've asked him to make me such a pedal, and he said it would become too expensive, and well, looking at the prices now I can see why. Yeah, so he sent me the circuit diagram and I've made it actually myself, and yeah, I'm really happy with everything so far. That's it. Hope you enjoyed this video and see you on another time. Bye.